as an alpha, and supposed to be strong and ruthless. But I can't. They say I'm not acting like a real alpha. But why should I fit into their imagined mold? Can't kindness and understanding also be qualities of a leader? Epilogue 2, N.R.D. Nathan's POV. Carly, can you pass me the rag? I ask as I move a stack of washed dishes onto the counter. She hands me the rag as the washes the last of tonight's dishes. I begin drying the plates one by one. When she's done washing, she picks up a rag and starts helping me. Do you really have to go tomorrow? She whines. You know I do. Beautiful. I answer. Carly gave me a sad little pout before putting down the dishes and crashing into my arms. I set down the plate and the rag to wrap my arms around her. She snuggles into my chest. I only see you like 2 or 3 times a month. I know, Carly, but once we graduate, we can move in together back home. Then I'll see you every day. I gave her a kiss on the top of her head and continued. Plus, we'll be back with Lauren. We just have to get through this last year. She nodded into my chest. I know, but it's so hard not seeing you. Not seeing how I'm all right, though in why your mom and dad. I pulled away from her to look at her face. Maybe we should visit home next weekend, I suggested. She remained quiet while she gave some thought before answering. I can't. I have to prepare for the fashion show that's at the end of the month. I gave her an understanding smile. Going home was hard with all our responsibilities as college students. I took Carla's hand in mine and led her to her bed. How about we leave the rest of the dishes for tomorrow and watch a movie? I asked as we sat down on her bed. Her face instantly lifted into a bright smile. Can we cuddle? She asked excitedly. I chuckled. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Noban, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Carly crawled into my arms, snuggling into me as I turned on the television and flipped through Netflix. To Carly's request, I put on a cheesy rom-com for us to watch. The movie had a friends to lovers storyline, which reminded me of Carly and I. I thought back to when things first started to change for us. It was the night my family and I went over to her house for dinner. Carly had been away from the dinner table for a long time. Her mom asked me to check her room and ask her to come back. When I did, I found Carly crying on her bedroom floor. Carly, what's wrong? I asked after I rushed to her. I'm not a baby anymore, she wailed as she looked down at a photo in her hand. She had a box filled with photos next to her and a few loose photos lying on the carpet. I looked to the photo on her hand. It was a young little girl, probably 2 or 3 years old, sitting on a dining chair with a bowl of mashed potatoes in front of her. I assumed that the little girl was Carly. She could barely reach the table and had mashed potatoes smeared all over her face. A www, Carly. Everyone grows up, I responded. I don't want to. I want to be a baby, she insisted. I want to have my stubby little fingers and my chubby legs. I want to be carried by mom and have a cute baby face. How about this? I begin and pick her up, making her squeal. I may not be able to make you a baby again, but I can carry you like one. Yay, mommy's carrying me. I chuckled. I've been given many nicknames, but mommy is a first. Carly didn't respond instead. She gasped and jumped out of my arms. She scrambled to her closet and exclaimed, "There's more in there." I followed her to her closet to see what she was talking about. She started reaching for a box on the top shelf of the closet. There's more what? Pictures of baby me. She tried climbing some boxes on the floor of a closet but still couldn't reach. So I stepped close behind her and reached for the box to get it down for her. When my chest touched her back, Carly squealed and fell off the box she was standing on. Because I was standing so close to her, she knocked me off my feet as well. Carly and I both landed on the ground. Carly's body and mine were still touching. Even after we landed, she jumped away from me and turned around to face me. I was caught off guard when her face was centimeters away from mine. My eyes traveled to her plump tits and then her tinted cheeks. Carly looks so cute right now, I thought to myself. It was the first time I had that thought. but it was definitely the strongest it's ever been. There was a temptation she provoked in me, it was irresistible. Carlyle's eyes looked up at me with embarrassment, but they also looked like they were asking for something. Something I was willing to give. Without thinking, I closed the gap between me and Carly. I closed my eyes as I planted an innocent kiss on her lips. That shiver erupted from my body as her warm lips touched mine. They were so shy, so gentle, but they were responsive. When her lips moved against my own, my heart began its marathon. A Pandora's box of emotions was released that night. There was always something about her. She always caught my eye, was fun to hang out with, and made me laugh. But I never wanted to think of it as more than friendship. That's a line you can tongue cross. But it was too late for that now. Lines were blurred, feelings were revealed, and risks were taken. After we pulled away, I watched her face go from soft to horrified. That broke my heart. Carly scrambled to her feet and bolted out of the bedroom. I heard her footsteps fade away as she hurried down the stairs. I was left sitting on the carpet, scared of what would happen next. I cursed myself for what I did. I ruined my friendship with Carly, probably Lauren too. I acted and didn't think of the consequences. I quickly got up and rushed to meet Carly downstairs. But once I arrived, I heard her mother say, "Carly, that's rude to our guests. Why are you saying you want Nathan to leave?" She stumbled. He saw my baby pictures. Everyone turned to look at me as I appeared in the doorway. My parents looked so confused while Carly's mum wore a smile on her face. "What's wrong with that? You didn't want him to see your little baby booty?" She chuckled. "Mom, please," she begged. Carly's father left it off and asked, "So who wants another round of lasagna?" The conversation was quickly lost. Carly gave me a quick glance but didn't look or even breathe in my direction for the rest of the night. The kiss seemed like a big mistake, but why did I feel like I was the only one who enjoyed it? Carly's POV. For a while, things were awkward before they got better. We barely talked, and when we did it was with other people around or just small talk. But slowly, the awkwardness faded away and instead everything between us felt natural. My thoughts began to revolve around him. What was he doing? Should I go see him? Should I call him? The other people I used to like or find attractive faded away, when Nathan was the only guy I could see. I knew I was hooked on him and there was no going back. But I didn't want to. And luckily he doesn't want to either. I can't take it anymore. I can't just act normal when all I want to do is hold your hand and kiss you again. I've been scared that things will be awkward, that we won't be friends anymore. But if I don't do anything, I'm going to regret not taking this chance. He confessed. A lot happened since the kiss, which I used to hate to admit that I enjoyed. Nathan and I grew closer, though he could never compare to Derek, the roach that lives in my room. He paused, taking a deep breath before nervously saying, "I like you." Those 3 words. They were simple yet they instantly opened up my heart to him. My head became fuzzy as my face grew hot. My heart was busy running a marathon in my chest. These feelings were new. Sure, I've had crushes but it was nothing like this. It was superficial, based on looks. But this was different. I liked Nate for who he was, not just for his looks. I stood speechless, unable to process his words, not knowing how to respond. I know you probably don't feel like that about me. I do feel the way about you." Before he could finish his sentence, I pulled his collar to bring him towards me. I stood on my tiptoes and pressed along, a weighted kiss on his lips. He stood frozen at first, but his shock wore off quickly. He wrapped his arms around me and cinched his lips against mine. My stomach tingled with excitement. "To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilben, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing clichés enthusiasm." I thought it was the milk I had earlier trying to give me the runs. But this was different. This didn't make my stomach bubble. It made my stomach nervous and excited. It made me feel happy. It made me feel warm. Nathan pulled away slowly and met my eyes with affectionate ones. But they were weary. I needed to reassure him by telling him how I felt. "I do like you. Nathaniel. As much as I tried telling myself I didn't, I couldn't keep pushing those feelings down. I want to be with you. I want to be the one you kiss after your team wins a game and the one who holds you in their arms when you need someone. I confessed. Nathan's face softened at my words. He instantly pulled me into an embrace. As I settled into his chest, which quickly became my favorite place, I listened to the rapid beating of his heart. I smiled to myself. I did it. I got the boy of my dreams. When Nathan looked down at me with those mesmerizing blue eyes of his, I knew this was where I belonged, by his side. Nathan's POV, 20 minutes into the movie, I was taken aback by the sound of snoring. I chuckled to myself when I saw some drool running down Carly's face. She clearly told me, if you fall asleep, I'll throw you out so you can sleep in the cold. Yet she's the one that fell asleep less than halfway into the movie. I slowly moved off of the bed, careful not to wake up Carly. I got up to turn off the TV and lights before crawling back into bed. I made sure she was well covered with the blanket before snuggling close to my beautiful girlfriend. I smiled when she draped her leg onto me in her sleep. I may be leaving tomorrow, but I can't wait for our next weekend together. At Log 3, Jeremy asked consideration. A lot of people are upset because they say untact like an alpha. Whatever that's supposed to mean. I guess you'll just go beat the shit out of anyone who looks at my mate for more that's at my desk and half every time someone breathes too close to her. Oh, I guess I should also yell at anyone who causes me a minor inconvenience. Like when I get served 24 potato fries instead of 22. Should I also treat my best friends like dirt and scream at them because I know that they have to tolerate it since I'm the alpha? I'm an alpha, not a caveman. Just because I'm an alpha doesn't mean that I have to be a tough, unreasonable, merciless guy whose only redeeming quality is his ripping ABS. Well, maybe the last part is me being salty about not having ABS. But still, I hate how people think I have to mold to this image that they have in their heads about what an alpha should be. A lot of the qualities that they want me to have are extremely toxic and unhealthy for everyone involved. Why would I want that? My beautiful mate cups my face in her soft hands. Don't listen to anything they say. They don't know what they're talking about. She tries to console me. You don't listen to anything they say. Just because you're human now doesn't mean you're any less of a Luna. She smiles softly. Don't worry. I don't care about any of that. At least, not anymore. But you, on the other hand, I can tell this eating away at you. I smile sadly and look down. If I could, I would beat up anyone who talks about you behind your back, she says passionately while showing me her fist. I smile softly before putting my hand over her fist to lower her arm. As much as I would appreciate that, it would only cause more problems. Love. She sighs and crosses her arms over her chest. I know that they shouldn't talk about their alpha like that. It bothers me that they don't know the amazing the way you are. I pull her towards me and plan to kiss on her cheek. But you think him amazing. Knowing that gives me strength to face everything. Blair smiles and leans towards me. I smile in return, thinking she's leaning in for a kiss. As I get closer, she pauses and flicks my forehead. That was so cheesy, she remarked with a beautiful smile resting on her lips. I take her hand in mine. But it's true. We continue to talk as we walk through the forest, searching for the nearby lake. Once we arrive, we set down our towels on a rock and prepare for our dip. Hey, Blair. I call out to her. Yes, she responds as she turns to face me. I put my hands up expectantly and ask, can you take off my shirt? She rolls her eyes but still approaches me, narrowing the space between us. My breath catches as she looks up at me, searching deeply into my eyes. Her hands reach the hem of my shirt, lightly brushing against my skin. Her touch sets my skin on fire, fueling my desire for more. I become entranced by her as she pulls my shirt over my head, keeping her body close to mine. It doesn't help that she's showing a lot of skin with her tucked up and shorts. I did not intend for this to be sexual, but my mate is so hot. Everything she does ends up feeling like a lingerie ad. You big baby, you can't even undress yourself. A smirk formed on my lips. Why would I do it myself when I could be unrest by the most beautiful woman on the planet? She tries to hide her embarrassment, but fails epic ally. Her bashful smile gives her away. Let's go for a dip. You dummy. IWW, I love you too. I respond, then peck her lips and continue. But sure, a dip sounds great. I grin before picking up my beautiful mate. Taking her into my arms. She squeals slightly, surprised by my gesture. What are you doing? Going for a dip, just like you said. I quickly run into the water before Blair can fight her way out of my hold. I don't stop until it reaches my stomach, where it brushes against Blair's back and submerges her hanging legs. It's cold, she exclaims before hanging on to me tightly. I swing her around jokingly, pretending I'm gonna throw her into the water. Throw me and I will drown you. Sounds like a win-win situation to me. I answer with a huge grin on my face. Jeremy, don't be evil. I slightly submerge her into the water, causing her to squeal some more. Jeremy, if you don't stop, I won't kiss you for a week. I freeze suddenly and turn to her wide-eyed. No, please. I beg. Anything but that. She smiles, then put me down. On my feet, I slowly lower her, making sure she has a chance to regain her footing. Once she's on her feet, she gives me a bright smile. She begins petting my head like a dog and says, IWW, who's a good alpha. You are. I cross my arms over my chest and pout at her. She laughs and says, IWWW, don't be mad. I keep my arms crossed and look away from her. I hear her moving through the water as she approaches me, but I keep my head turned. She slips her cool, wet fingers onto my face, turning it around so that I face her. Before I know what's going on, I feel her warm lips on mine. I instantly close my eyes and rest my hands on her waist to pull her closer so that her body is against mine. She pulls back and smiles at me. You're the evil one, I say in a pout. She throws her head back and laughs adorably, making my heart race. And you're the cute one, she says before I smile and pull her in for another kiss. I sit on my desk, listening to what the commander has to say. I apologize, sir. Some warriors refuse to cooperate. They claim you are not fit to be alpha. As a few weeks passed, the situation quickly escalated. I thought that letting them see for themselves that I can be a competent alpha would work. I wanted to avoid putting my foot down because I did not know how people would react. But things are getting worse and it's time for me to step in. Tell them I will meet with them at sunset. And not just the warriors. The whole pack. Yes, Alpha. I will make the announcement. As the commander is leaving my office, Lucas and Daniel walk in. The commander and my two friends greet each other at the door before going their separate ways. My beta and Delta have a seat on the leather couch in my office. I leave my desk chair to join them. How you feeling? Daniel asks me. To be honest, I'm worried. I don't want to lose my position as Alpha. Imagine how devastated my family will be. I don't want to dishonor my father, who expected me to be the Alpha of his pack and eventually pass it on to my children. This situation is very stressful. I don't think you have to worry too much. Lucas says, you have the support of most people in this pack. They not only respect your lineage, despite everything that happened, but they also see that you are a good person and a good Alpha. Thanks, Lucas. I responded. I really hope that's the case. My beta and my delta helped me prepare for the pack meeting later. This would be the first time I would be speaking to everyone in the pack like this and I'm a little nervous. However, I am still confident. I know that what I am doing is for the good of pack for my people. When the sun was just about ready to set, I found myself standing before my fellow wolves. They were all gathered before me, some uneasy, some uninterested, some excited. There were quiet whispers in the crowd, so I had to ask for every owner's attention before getting started. Good evening, everyone. I began and looked over at my loyal Beta and Delta, Lucas and Daniel. They smiled at me reassuringly and I continued. I know there have been tensions lately and a lot of you have been wondering if I am competent enough to be Alpha. I want to shut down these worries. Not by force but by choice. I want you to see for yourself that I can be a good alpha. I paused and looked at the crowd before me. They all seemed to be listening and taking in my word. I want to be a good leader, but I also want to be a different leader. I know that you all may be uneasy because you do not know what is to come while I am your alpha. But I promise you that all I want is to keep you safe and help everyone in this pack live a peaceful life. I believe that being a good leader is not being ruthless, but rather understanding of people's situations and doing what is best for the pack. Not just what is best for me. I want us to be more progressive and look towards a brighter future. One where war is not always the answer. Where we do not have to be merciless and overexert our power. I do not wish to rule over you in tyranny. On the contrary, I want what is best for you, my people. That is the future I want for us. For the Silver Coat Pack. Thank you everyone for being loyal and for devoting yourself to our pack. I, Jeremy Kianos, greatly appreciate and respect each and every one of you. If you let me be your alpha, I will lead with great conviction and responsibility. Please just give me time to prove myself to you. If my words did not convince you, then pay attention to my actions and maybe then you will see my vision. If you still don't like my leadership, we can begin making changes or suggested change in leadership. That is all for today's meeting. Thank you for your time. After I finished up my speech and dismissed everyone, I stepped away from the crowd. I was surprised when I saw my adorable mate running towards me before holding me in a tight embrace. I immediately returned the hug by wrapping my arms around her. I'm so proud of you. You are amazing. Jeremy, she mumbled against my chest. I closed my eyes and smiled to myself. Thank you. Love. It means a lot, especially coming from you. Our little moment ended when Daniel and Leland Lucas approached us. You were great, man, Daniel said as I pulled away from my mate. Yeah, Lucas added. It was awesome, and I'm not just saying that because I have to as your friend. It was nice knowing that everyone was proud of me and fought with my speech. Thank you. Guys, I replied while smiling at everyone. With my friends and my amazing mate by my side, I will show everyone that I can be a good alpha, that I may be different, but still a good leader. Achilleasen, is mate Lucas B. Ovi, Inde. Those two words echoed in my head. I knew I said them to scare off someone who was trying to hit on me a few months ago, but I did not expect that it would be true. Well, I may not exactly be gay, but my mate is a guy. And since I have never felt sexual attraction towards anyone but my mate, am I technically gay? God, this werewolf business is making me question my entire sexuality. I'm so sorry. Beta Lucas. I'm sure you expected a female as your e-mate. His shaky voice faltered. How will you have kids to take over the beta position? I am so sorry. My heart ached at the way his head hung low, the way he shamefully stared at his feet, as if this was all his fault. No, Artemis. Please don't apologize. I pleaded. You have nothing to be sorry for. And to hell with having kids. You're my mate. That's all that matters. I took a step closer to him, but he took one back in return. My wolf whimpered at his movement. Artemis, a pack warrior, lowered his head even further, avoiding eye contact with me at all costs. It would be best if you find a wolf that can give you kids, he whimpered. Without another word, Artemis turned and ran in the opposite direction. As he increased the distance between the two of us, he transformed into his wolf-knit sprint. What are you standing around for? Go chase him, my wolf demanded. Please don't do this right now. As much as I want to, I should give him some space before I talk to him. You're right. But talk to him by tomorrow. No later than that. Don't worry. I will. That night, I tossed and turned for hours. Now that I knew who my mate was, I could not bear to sleep without him. It felt like something was missing. I felt incomplete. I want to explain to him that I want him. But it doesn't matter that he is a guy. I obviously didn't expect this. But that doesn't mean that I don't want it. I check my phone for the time. 12:04. Technically, it's the next day. I told myself I would talk to him tomorrow. Now is tomorrow. I quickly hop out of bed and rush out of the lonely beta house. I don't even bother to put on a shirt or even to put on shoes. I run toward the werewolf living quarters. I let instinct lead me to my mate's house. An addicting smell is a dead giveaway of my mate's presence inside. I arrive at his door panting with a light sweat. Once I stopped, I was immediately called off by the brisk air. Lucas. Please. I beg him. Hear me out. Artemis gives me a concerned look when he sees my bare body in the harsh cold. Come inside. He concedes. I can't help but smile in response. Thank you. What brings you here at this hour? He asks as he passes me a blanket from the couch. I want very cold. But it's cute that AG is concerned about me. I take the blanket and wrap it around my shoulders. I take in a deep breath and let out a sigh of satisfaction when I notice that his scent is all over the blanket. I almost let out a chuckle when I see his eyes shamefully scan my chest and ABS. When my lips break into a smile, his eyes snap back up and meet my own eyes. I take a step closer to him. This time, he doesn't move away. His eyes soften as he looks into my eyes. He looks like he wants to give in. I just have to give him a little push. His eyes flutter shut when I gently cup his face with my hand. I'm surprised at the pleasant sensation that spreads throughout my body as my fingers caress his skin. Now I see why wolves start wars over their mates. My body shivers at the thought of bringing my face closer to his and pressing a kiss on his beautiful, heart-shaped lips. Artemis, I don't care that we can't have kids. I don't care that you're a guy. If people talk about us, I don't care. If I have to give up my position as beta, I don't care. You're my mate. Every ounce of my body wants to hold you in my arms right now. I just want you. That's what's important. So please, will you take me as your mate? It would be an honor. I see that his face has flushed slightly. His expression holds many conflicting emotions. He almost looks like he wants to cry. Was I too insensitive? Did I say something wrong? Before any other pessimistic thoughts can penetrate my brain, Artemis closes the gap between us and wraps his arms around me. I'm sorry. He apologized. I didn't want you to feel like you were stuck with me. I didn't want you to lose your position because of me. But I'm selfish and I want to be your mate. Why is that something to be sorry about? We're mates. We'll get through this together. I intertwined my fingers with his as we embraced one another. I will do everything in my power to make sure Artemis doesn't receive any backlash because of me. Not everyone will be okay with the bait having a mate that isn't female. They can make fun of me all they want, but not my mate. I pulled away and gazed into his beautiful sky blue eyes. His jet black hair seeped onto his forehead in naturally tight curls. His sharp nose and bushy brows complemented his face well. He was beautiful. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilben, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. My mind started having dirty thoughts when his hand grabbed my wrist. He nervously asked, "Do you want to sleep in my house tonight? There's other people living here." But, yes, definitely, I said without hesitation. I didn't expect anything to happen, nor would I try to make a move on him. I was just happy he gave me the opportunity to be with him. He chuckled. "Shall we go to bed?" To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilben, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. I followed him up a flight of stairs. When we arrived, he nervously went around cleaning his room. Not the cleanest guy. I joked. "I'm sorry." He looked down and apologized. "Why are you apologizing?" "It was a joke. I'm sorry if it sounded like I was turning you off." To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilben, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. It's because you're either beta. I'm used to following orders. If I ask you to do something, don't do it because you feel like you have to take orders from me. Do it because you want to. And if you don't want to, then tell me that and I'll understand. We're equals in this relationship. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilben, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. He smiled at me. Okay. Nucus. The way he pronounced my name gave me the jitters. I felt like a little boy who was experiencing his first crush. I pulled Artemis into an embrace and plopped us onto the bed. He happily snuggled against me. I loved the sensation of our bodies tangled into one another. I pulled my head back slightly to look at Artemis. He noticed and looked at me with his gorgeous eyes. We both smiled at each other before I buried my face in his chest. This was just the beginning of our journey together, and I was already hooked. At log 5, getaway date is everything ready. Daniel asks me as I place a small bag on the kitchen counter. Yep. We just need to take everything to the car. Daniel takes all the bags from the counter and says, "Can't let my princess carry all this." I give him a smile before rushing in front of him to open the front door, then the trunk. After putting all the stuff in our trunk, we made sure we had everything: blankets, our cooler with food and drinks, a flashlight, and an extra set of clothes. This was Daniel and his first getaway together since we've been together. He doesn't get many opportunities to have some time off, but now that he has the weekend free, we are taking full advantage of it. After 2 years together, we are finally having our first trip together. We were driving a few hours away to a mountain range with a nearby lake. Though it won't be snowing at this time of the year, it will still be cold, so we have to make sure to take thick sweaters and plenty of blankets since we will spend a majority of our time outside. Daniel got into the passenger seat while I climbed into the driver's seat. I would be driving the first stretch of the drive, then he would take over. Once I got the car started, I joked, "You'll be my passenger princess for today." Correction, you mean you'll be your passenger princess for the first hours. The smarty corrected me with his pointing finger held up at me. I put down his pointing finger and replied, "Let me have this win." He laughed and said, "Then start driving, princess." I turned the car to drive. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nelben, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. My prince. After a few hours of driving, eating snacks, and bantering with each other, Daniel and I arrived at the mountain area at 1 p.m. First thing we did was park our car at the campsite and explore the area. We went on a trail and followed the path all the way to the top of the mountain. We reached the mountain peak after an hour and a half of hiking. The view below us was absolutely breathtaking. The mountains in the distance were blurred by a thin layer of fog. The trees hundreds of feet below us looked so tiny that we could barely make out their shape. Wow, I breathed. It's so beautiful. It really is. Makes me wish our territory was on a landscape like this. That many mountains and cliffs would be scary, especially for raising pups. That's true. I would hate losing my baby like that. But as long as we set up fences and mark restricted areas, then we would be fine. The thing I would love about living here is the snow. I revealed. I've always wanted to live in a place where it snows often rather than just 3 times a year. Daniel wrapped an arm around me and planted a kiss on my forehead with his cold lips. We may not be able to move here, but let's visit this place when there's snow. I gave him a warm smile. I would like that. And well, it would be nice to visit this place again. When we have kids, we could make snow angels and have snowball fights and show them the beautiful views. Daniel seemed nervous telling me this. His eyes held a vulnerability and I almost knew what he was asking. We already had the "do we want kids" talk, but we had never decided when to actually start trying for kids. Do you want to have kids soon? Daniel looked away from me and toward the landscape. He deeply inhaled the crisp mountain air, then exhaled slowly, a spread across his lips. He looked at me with his radiant smile and said, "I would love to have a little me or a little you running around. I absolutely love the idea of having kids with you. If I'm honest, there's nothing I want more right now. But I know you're still training to be a warrior. I don't want to take that away from you. And I'm not sure if you're ready. We're still pretty young. I just want to make sure we have pups when we're both ready." I looked down and smiled softly. Daniel, my mate. He was always so considerate. He would be an amazing dad. Of that I had no doubt. But I was sure if I was in the right place yet. If I'm being honest, I looked back towards him and continued. I feel like there's some things I need to do before I have kids. Like you said, I feel like I need to finish my training before I can have kids. If I have a kid now, it would either set me back or I will give up on being a warrior entirely. I know Blair's already pregnant, but I need a little more time. The whole time I was talking, Daniel listened and respected what I had to say. I completely understand. I'm willing to wait until you are ready, even if it's in 10 years. Daniel always managed to get me to smile. Thank you, but we don't need to wait that long. In about a year my training should finish. When I'm a full-fledged warrior, we can start trying. Daniel was in wolf form, yet I could imagine his ears perking up at the way he exclaimed. To my agent extraordinaire, my Linilbang, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Yes, really. Daniel hugged me and picked me up as we both laughed. After he set me down, I didn't think you would finish so soon. I'm so glad. Princess. I couldn't stop smiling at Daniel. I almost wanted to throw everything out the window and make that kid right now. But I knew better than that. I rubbed his nose, which was a bright pink from being exposed to the cold for too long, with my gloved fingers. Come on, let's start heading back down. The sun is starting to set, I suggested. Daniel agreed and we both slowly made our way down the mountain. By the time we arrived at our car, we were tired, hungry, and exhausted. We had our pre-made sandwiches for dinner and set up our sleeping arrangements for the night. We layered a mattress stopper and many blankets on the back of his truck. The space was a little small, but it was enough for both of us to fit in and sleep comfortably. We didn't have a tent, so we got a small mosquito repellent device and placed it near us to avoid having our blood sucked in our sleep. We hated mosquitoes as much as we hated vampires. Our 3 thick blankets would keep us warm throughout the night. Before falling asleep, Daniel and I were gazing at the beautiful patterns in the sky above us. The stars were extremely visible here. They seemed to gleam more than back home. It was as if they were happy that they rested over an abundance of trees, mountains, and nature. I pointed my finger up at the sky. Doesn't that constellation look like the pot we have at home? The funny looking one with the handle at the bottom instead of the top. No way. It looks more like a baseball cap to me. I see the cap, but I see the brown pot more. Daniel traced a constellation with his pointing finger and asked, "What does this one look like to you?" I looked at it for a second before bursting out in laughter. "That looks like a mouse to me." Daniel joined in my laughter. "That's a whole rat right there." I looked over to Daniel, who had the most amazing smile on his face. I could tell that he was happy, that he truly loved me. I looked back up at the stars and smiled when I saw the Gemini constellation. "You know what else I see?" He looked at me and raised an eyebrow. I pointed towards it and said, "I see me and you. That's us right there holding hands, being by each other's side no matter what." Daniel flashed his teeth in a bashful smile. "I agree with your observation." He turned to look at me and took my hand in his own, mimicking the constellation. He continued, "That's us today. And 20 years from now, I'm never leaving your side, Princess." As his thumb played with the ring he gave me, I pulled myself closer to him, my arms wrapped around his neck and my leg around his waist. "I love you, Daniel," I whispered, "and I love you, Lauren. Akiyazan, Benson baby, oh my God. Oh my God, what do I do? Should I get my mom?" "No, she'll be asleep. I'll take you straight to the pack doctor." My mate rambled frantically. I took 2 deep breaths before speaking. "Daniel, calm down. Please. Just take me to the pack doctor right now. We figure out the rest from there." "Yes, I'm sorry, Princess. Let's go." Daniel quickly grabbed the pre-packed bag we had set up for this occasion. We knew it was coming. We just didn't know when, so we wanted to be prepared. After he swung the bag over his shoulder, Daniel picked me up and carried me in his arms, almost like a baby. "Daniel, do you plan on carrying me all the way to the pack doctor?" To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilben, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. In not letting you walk there. Not like this, he said with determination. It's not that far. I took a deep breath to control the pain and continued. I can walk, he insisted. That's not an option. Princess. Let's go. Because I knew he wouldn't let up about this. And because I was having terrible contractions, I let him carry me all the way despite being squirmish and heavy. Daniel began walking to the pack house, holding me tightly. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilben, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Midnight air was unwelcoming. I shivered as it pierced my skin. Sorry, Princess. I should have brought a blanket for you. No, you're doing enough right now. Don't worry about that. We're almost there. So just hold on for a little longer. I tightly gripped Daniel's arm as a sudden pain spiked in my belly. I cried out in pain at the awful sensation. Finally, we had arrived at the hospital. Once we entered the front doors, Daniel exclaimed, "My mate's going into labor." To the nurses in front. "Follow me," a nurse said in a hurry before leading us to an empty room. Daniel hurried us both into a delivery room. When we made it in, he gently set me down on the bed. The nurse gave me a gown to change into and told me to remain laid down on the bed until the doctor came in. Daniel crouched to my side and gently brushed my hair away from my face. He took my hand and comforted me by saying, "It's gonna be okay. Take a few deep breaths. Princess, I'm right here with you. I'm never leaving your side." I listened to what Daniel was saying, but it was hard for me to respond. The pain right now was extremely uncomfortable. It was difficult to concentrate on anything but the pain. I felt myself calm down a little when he planted a kiss on my forehead. "I'm here, Princess. And soon our little girl will be here too." He continued to reassure me. Because of the pain and contractions, I was often in and out of sleep for a few hours until I was ready to give birth. Daniel stood beside me the whole time, always holding my hand. Even when I was asleep, he was fighting to stay awake in case I needed anything. Daniel was the best possible support system I could have had. "She's coming." I heard one of the nurses yell as I was in a haze. I was sleepy and in pain, so I felt numb to my surroundings and what was going on. But there was one thing I knew for sure. My baby was ready to enter this world. The nurses quickly propped my legs up and began instructing me. "We're going to need you to push, sweetie," one of them said. I looked at Daniel, who was standing right beside me. He looked both anxious and happy at the same time. His eyes were red, brimmed with tears. Daniel saw me looking and gave me a reassuring smile. He gave my hand a firm squeeze before kissing my sweaty forehead. I pushed when I was instructed to push and took deep breaths when I was told to breath in and out. Eventually, my precious little angel let out her first cry as she entered this world. The first thing they did was place her on my chest face down. When my baby was finally in my arms, I immediately broke into tears. For 9 months I cowled and waited to meet her, and now she was here with me. The nurse confirmed the ultrasound's prediction by saying, "As expected, your baby is a girl." Daniel and I looked at each other in awe. Tears streamed down both of our faces as we looked at our precious baby girl. The moment I saw her, I knew I'd call her. "Hi, Adeline," I whispered to her. "You're so beautiful. You're mother's middle name," Daniel said lovingly. I nodded and asked, "Is that okay?" To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilben, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Princess, it's a beautiful name. I would love for my daughter to carry your mother's name. Thank you. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilben, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. A smile on my lips. Daniel gently picked up Adeline and cradled her small body in his arms. He looked at her with so much love, so much emotion. This was a sight I would never forget. "Mommy, when is Daddy coming home?" My 4-year-old asked innocently. "She's at work right now. Bunny, he'll be home soon." Adeline's lips formed into a pout. "But I want to show him something," she complained. I sat down next to her on the fuzzy living room carpet. "You can show me. To my agent extraordinaire, Mylan Noble, heartfelt thanks for your unfading patience, enthusiasm." To my agent extraordinaire, Mylan Noble, heartfelt thanks for your unfading patience, enthusiasm. "But I'm still showing Daddy when he gets here." I smiled at her. "That's fine with me." She picked up a card that was sitting next to her on the carpet. After handing it to me, she expectantly asked, "What do you think?" I gently took the card from her hands. It was a piece of construction paper folded slightly unevenly. I smiled at it, knowing that she tried her best. I opened it and saw a drawing of Daniel, me and her. Surrounding the image was different kinds of stickers, including animals, shapes, and objects. In a blue crayon, she had written, "I love my family, my mommy, daddy and brother." Instantly, the last part caught my attention. I looked back to the drawing and noticed that she drew me with a big belly. "Bunny, what does this mean?" I pointed to the drawing of me and asked. Adeline smiled at me. She exclaimed, "That's you. To my agent extraordinaire, Mylan Noble, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm." Why is my belly big? Did I eat too many tacos? No, Mommy. That's you and my brother. But Adeline, you don't have a brother, I said wearily. Yes, I do. Arch is in here. She gently touched my belly and smiled. Okay, Bunny, thank you for telling me. I told her before giving her a kiss on her forehead. You can continue drawing. Mummy's going to the bathroom. She picked up a new paper to draw on and instantly fell into her own world. I stood up and quickly headed to the bathroom. I searched the cabinets until I found some of the pregnancy tests we keep in here, just in case we need them. I peed on the test and made sure to flush and wash my hands while I waited for the results. I was anxious and didn't know what to expect. Adeline made it seem like she was sure I was pregnant, but that could have been her imagination. Right. I took the test with me as I left the bathroom. I still needed to wait a few more minutes, but I didn't want Adeline to be alone for too long. I took a seat on the couch and waited impatiently. When the results came back, my heart sank. Positive. I don't know how, but she knew. I looked toward my daughter, who was coloring on a piece of paper. Somehow, Adeline knew I was pregnant even before I did, before anyone else did. Is it true that it'll be a boy? Or am I getting ahead of myself? Maybe it's a false positive. I should take one more just to be sure. But Adeline knew somehow. It couldn't just be a coincidence. Right. When the front door opens, I immediately bolt up. Daniel enters our house, his clothes and skin covered in dirt and mud. My heart begins to pound wildly in my chest. How was he going to react? We already have a kid together. But how was he going to feel about another one? Maybe he wasn't ready. Maybe the timing isn't right. Daniel immediately senses that something is wrong. He puts his things down at the front door and rushes toward me. He gently places his hands on my arms and asks, "Is everything okay?" Me, Emma. Yes, Daniel, but... I hesitate. There's something you need to know. Daddy. Our attention is brought to our 4-year-old stumbling towards us. She looks extremely happy to see her father and raises her hands to him, signaling that she wants to be carried. Daniel gives her a bright smile and squats to pick her up and spin her around. She giggles when he places a kiss on her forehead. What is it? Princess, he asks her tenderly. Look, I made this for you. She bubbled as she handed him the card. He smiles warmly as he looks at the outside of the card. Princess, it's beautiful. Thank you. You're welcome, Daddy. After she has put down, Daniel examines the card. Instinctively, I gulp when he opens the letter. His eyes grow wide and his face falls. He looks at me and stumbles. Lauren, honey, is this true? Are we having another baby? Yes. I took a test today. After seeing her card, and it came out positive, I admit. For a second, his surprised expression worries me, but when his face breaks out into the biggest, brightest smile I've ever seen, I sigh in relief. He runs to me and takes me into his arms. He picks me up and spins me around, similar to how it did to our daughter moments ago. We both laugh and giggle as we are in each other's arms. He plants his lips to mine, the smile still present on his lips. I can't believe we're having another baby. Oh my God. Lauren, I'm so happy. You're giving me another blessing, he exclaims. He continues to plant kisses all over my face, making me giggle. He turns his attention to our daughter and picks her up so that she joins us. Daniel places a kiss on her head and says, I love you, princess. Adeline looks at him with adoration. I love you too, Daddy. He looks to me and mind links. Thank you for the beautiful family you've given me. I love you, Lauren. I hold back tears as I look at him holding our daughter. He is the best husband and father I could have ever asked for. And I love you, I reply through our mind link. Daniel carries our daughter to the kitchen and I follow behind them. He sets her down on her chair in the dining area. After washing his hands, he rolls up his sleeves and opens the fridge. I'm going to make my famous lasagna today, he announces. Yeah, lasagna is my favorite, Adeline exclaims. I place my hand on his arm to stop him. I'll cook. You can go tidy up. Achies still dirty from work. It looks uncomfortable. He looks to me, a radiant smile on his face. He gently brushes my hair behind my ear before insisting, No, me Emma. I got this. Let me cook for you and my 2 babies. Daniel gets down on one knee and gently places his hands on my stomach. He gives my stomach a kiss before whispering, I want to do this so you and my son can relax. My beautiful son who I already love with all my heart. He stands up and meets my eyes. His beautiful blue eyes gleam as he looks at me. I always adored the way his eyes held so much emotion when they looked at me. Okay. But in helping, even if it's with something like taking the meat out the freezer. Thank you. Beautiful. I can't help but smile at him. Even after years, he still melts my heart. Not just with the grand gestures he does, but with the little, everyday things. This is the man I want to spend the rest of my life with. Daniel is my mate, my everything. Thank you for tuning in. If you enjoyed this episode of the story, please give it a like, and don't forget to subscribe to get notifications for updates.